I'm Inezalea from ToleratedCinematics.com, and today I will be showing you how to create this epic warfare trailer title, so check it out. Alright, so that looks very cool, and we're going to recreate this in After Effects right now. But if you don't wish to follow this tutorial, or you want to support our YouTube channel, you can always buy this template with the link in the description. It's really easy to edit. It also includes a tutorial on how to do that. But for those that want to know how it's done, let's start with the tutorial. So I'll create a new composition, make this full HD, and rename it to main comp. I'm going to make it 30 FPS, 300 frames long, which means 10 seconds, and click OK. And then right here, I will go to Layer, New, Solid, and I will rename this to Background. Click OK, and then we're going to Effect, Generate, and we're going to pick the gradient ramp and change the linear ramp to a radial ramp. We're going to change up the color, so it's completely up to you. I'm going to use some kind of the same colors that I used in my preview, right, like this here. And of course you can pick whatever color that you like, and then I will drag this one down so we have the circle in the center, and then I'm going to drag this one up until we have a nice fade. Then I will go to Project Manager and change my project settings to be 32 bits per channel, so we have a little bit more information. And currently I see a lot of banding. To fix that, I usually just go to Effect, while my layer is selected, Effect, Noise and Grain, and add a little bit of noise and set this at 1%, and that's going to fix my banding for me. So right here we have our background, and now we can add our text. So go to the text tool, and I will be using the Iron Man font, which I found on dafont.com. We'll go to my text tool, click over here, and just write warfare like so. Click on my selection tool, go to the Align tab right here, and then I'm going to center my text out and just make it a little bit bigger, center it again. And I'm going to Layer Styles, Gradient Overlay. Go into the Gradient Overlay right here, open that up, and go to Edit Gradient. And then right here, I want to pick some of the same kind of colors, so we'll pick like an off-white, and go to the same kind of color palette that we used for the background. And then right here, I will pick a darker toned color, like so, maybe something like this, and click OK. Then I will go to my text tool again and just duplicate it, and then I will change this here to be my outer stroke here. So I don't have a fill, but I do have a stroke of 1 pixel. Maybe you can change that to 2 pixels. And then we're going to open that up again, go back to that layer style for the gradient, and edit that gradient. We're going to add a little bit more detail here. So what we want to do is actually just kind of contrast the opposite color of this one. So right here we can go a little bit brighter, and that way we're going to see a lot more information in there. So that's pretty cool. Let's keep it as it is right now. And now we have a nice title, as you can see right here. It looks pretty cool. I'm going to close this down now, and then I will just click on my text and hold Shift to select both of these, go to Layer, Pre-Compose, and move all the attributes in a new composition and rename this to Title. We'll click OK. And now what I can do is press P on the keyboard, go to the stopwatch right here, and click on the stopwatch for my position. On the Z position, which you currently don't see because we don't have a 3D layer, we'll have to select 3D layer. If you don't see that, just toggle the switches, make it 3D, and for the position in Z, we're going to just drag it in Z space. We can hold Shift to do it faster until it passes the camera like so. Move like 10 frames in time. I'm doing this holding Shift and pressing the page down key. And then I pressed page down a little bit more, so we have a little bit more than just these 10 frames. And then I will click on my Z position and set this back at 0. So now we have this slamming in effect, as you can see right here. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to also enable the motion blur for my layer, and if I do this for the composition, now you will see the actual motion here, and it's going to feel a lot more realistic, and now we have something like this. Of course, you can speed it up just dragging in this keyframe. It can be a little bit faster than 10 frames actually. So now we have something like this, looks great. What I want to do now is right click new and add a new adjustment layer, and I'm going to rename this to shake, and then go to effects and presets. And I did well, I actually did a video on this, but you can download this for free on our website. It's called the wiggle preset. I'm going to be using this one. I will drag this onto my adjustment layer, and then right before it actually slams in, I will click on the stopwatch for frequency and amplitude, move 1 frame, and for the frequency I'm going to set this at like 15, and for the amplitude also 15, move 10 frames forward and just set this back to 0. Press U on the keyboard to reveal these keyframes right here and select the last 2. Then right click on the last 2, go to keyframe assistance, easy ease, and now they're going to fade out nicely. Let's preview, and now we have something like this. We can actually bring these in a little bit more, and let's see what we have here. So offset them a little bit until you're satisfied. I think this looks pretty cool. I'm going back to my settings here, and instead of 15, I'm going to set this to 20, and this one to something like 10. Let's see. So this is completely up to you. Just pick something that you like. Maybe we can increase this maybe to 35. And each time you do something, it's going to give you different results. So play around with these settings until you have a nice shake to your text, and then we can continue with the background a little bit more. Let's click on the background, go to layer, pre-compose, and pre-compose this as a background. So move all the attributes into a new composition, background comp, and click OK. Then we're going to open that composition, right click, new, and add a new solid layer. And I'm going to rename this to smoke, and then I will click OK. Go to effects and noise and grain, and we're going to apply the fractal noise effect like usual, and then we're going to the fractal type dynamic progressive. I'm going to increase my transform here, so open up that transform, the scale. I'm going to set this at 500 so we have a nice large smoke like so, and then I'm going to hold Alt and click on the stopwatch for the evolution. Right time times 120, and this is just a little expression that just animates the evolution over time, so you're going to see some animation right here in our fractal noise. We can do the same thing actually for our offset turbulence, but Alt click and click on the stopwatch for the offset turbulence. But now we're going to need a little bit more advanced kind of expression. Well, it's actually rather simple, but for some people it might be. So we're going to create 2 brackets. In between these brackets, I'm going to create a right value, open bracket, and write 0, close bracket, and then just plus actually, write plus time times also 100, comma, open, or before we open the bracket again, value, open the bracket, write 1, close the bracket, and there we go. So that's it we have to do. So what is this actually doing is it's looking at the value of x. So this is the first position, and then I'm going to add time times 100. So now it's going to look at the x and it's going to add a time expression, comma, value 1 is for the y, and it's just going to take whatever value we put into it. So if we're going to animate that, it's just going to stay at that value. That's all it's doing. So we just wanted to actually offset the x, and now it's actually moving to the right, as you can see. So now we have some smoke flying to the right. Go to the complexity, set this at like 4, and then click on your smoke right now, and then just toggle the switches, go to mode and set this at multiply. And right here you can invert it if you want to. Let's see, I'm not going to invert it. Press T on the keyboard and just set this at like 25. So now we have a nice smoke in the background. We can duplicate that same layer, and now we can play with the transform scale right here. So maybe set this at 150, and that way you're going to add more detail into your shot. Of course, press T on the keyboard, play a little bit with your opacity to get some different values. You can also go and press double tap E on the keyboard, and that's going to open up your expressions right here, and maybe make the smaller parts go a little bit faster. So right here, 120 and this 200, and then you're going to see a little bit more of a 3D feel. Just play around with these settings and you can get some really cool results. Okay, go back to the main comp. Now we have our background like so, and now all we need is some kind of particles to just simulate that warfare tone. So we're going to create a new solid layer right here and rename this to particles. Or particle, because I was actually too lazy to add that extra S. Okay, so go to effects, and now we're going to add simulation CC particle world. Go to the producer. Actually, before we do that, go to the grid and guides, and here I'm going to uncheck grid like so, and then I'm going to the particles and change the line to faded sphere. Hold Ctrl, and while holding Ctrl, I'm going to drag these values down so we have a softer, well, drag kind of value that we're doing. So if you hold Ctrl, it's just going slower. We want small particles like so, and change the birth rate maybe to 1 and the longevity to 2, and then click right here in the center. Or what you can do as well is go to the position X and Y and just offset it that way, but I just like to pick this and put it like right here. Go to the physics tab now, and right here I want to change my gravity. So I actually want to drag it down until we have a soft animation towards the top. So something like this value will do fine, and now we have it flying up. Instead of using explosive, I want to use twirl. That's going to kind of rotate my particles like so, like a real fire. Looks great. And then of course we can change the colors a little bit, so maybe a little bit more orange right here for the particles itself. Something like so. Okay, looks pretty cool. And what I want to do as well is go to the physics again, and maybe the direction axis right here, and gravity vector actually, and add a little bit more for the X, and maybe, well, actually the rest is okay. Now it's going to fly a little bit more to the right, I think. Looks great. And I'm going to just add some motion blur for that as well. So now we have that motion blur, as you can see right now. Looks also pretty cool. And I think that there is a little bit too much information right here. There are too many particles. So I want this to drag down so we only have these far away particles like so. And then you can play around with the birth rate if you want more of them. But I actually like the few amount of particles that we're seeing right here. Of course, in the beginning of your shot, you don't have any particles, so just drag this layer over until you do, and then just enlarge it like so. And now we can duplicate that layer, but before we do, toggle the switches and change the mode to a screen. So we have these bright particles, and then just go to Ctrl, press D on the keyboard, and then go to your particles and change these colors to a darker color. So these are going to be our darker kind of ash particles. So change that to multiply. Maybe also go to the particle and just make it a little bit bigger. And of course, we're going to need to change everything up a little bit. So go to the producer and maybe make it a little bit wider like this. And maybe we want some, let's see here. Well, actually, apart from that, it looks okay. We want maybe a little bit less gravity, so something like this. And now if we're going to play this back, just increase the birth rate right here to 4. And let's see if we solo these. Are we actually seeing any particles right here? They're way too small, so I'm going to just make them larger like this. Okay. And solo this, and now we have these particles in the background, which are adding a little bit more variation. Lower the opacity if you want, and now we get a really cool warfare intro. Looks pretty cool, right? Alright, yeah. So you can finish it off with some new adjustment layers like always, like usual. Just make it a vignette, go to the mask path and change it to an ellipse tool, double click the ellipse tool, go to effect, color correction, curves, and drag down the curves. Then go to the mask right here and change the add to subtract, and press F on the keyboard to feather it out. And now you have a nice contrast on the edges of your animation, and we have this here. Alright, so that's basically it. You can change the velocity because the particles are a little bit too fast, but that's completely up to you. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.